Hello, everyone. You're listening to the Small Business Show. I'm your host, Swire. My guest today is an event professional. Her name is Shay Wheat. She's a certified event producer and creator of popular programs such as the Powerful Event Process, the Ultimate Event Planning Certification Program, and she's also the CEO of Grace and Ease Production Inc. How are you doing, Shay?
I'm phenomenal. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
I have so many questions that I want to ask you about the world of event. But
Yeah.
before we get started, would you mind to tell us a little bit more about how you became an event planner, and then something about how you can help clients to plan for successful events?
hmm Yeah, absolutely. I kind of fell into it, I guess is the best way to say it. I was speaking. I was on a stage and it was like a multi-speaker event. I was kind of messing with the guy in front of me that had my microphone, and I'm like, "Hey, dude, don't go spitting on my mic." And he's like, "You're funny. Who the heck are you?" And come to find out, he was actually the head of education for Dr. Oz's nonprofit. And I was like, oh, wow, I just met his sister at a women's conference that I was supporting. And he was like, really? Because she's best friends with our CEO and we're doing a women's conference. You should help us. And I said, okay. So that's kind of how I got started. My first associate producer role. I was in charge of over 70 speakers and over 100 volunteers. So I kind of fell into it.
Okay. So I think the first question that I want to ask you, and especially I like to go in-person networking before the pandemic. Now
Mhm.
it seems like that everyone is not doing virtual events anymore. So, and I know that the most frequently asked question that you probably have is, virtual event dead? So, can you jump in to talk to us about virtual, in person, and hybrid?
Yes. Yeah. So you're right. I do get a lot of questions of, should I be doing in person? Should I be doing virtual? Should I be doing hybrid? Should I do digital first? Like, what do I need to be focusing on? What is my next best step? Are people even showing up to virtual? Are they showing up to in person? What do I have to deal with when I'm looking at the hotel? And so it's like, okay, let's all take a breath and go, what is the actual intention of your event? What is the end result? What is it that you want your audience to gain out of it? Whether they end up continuing doing business with you or not, what are they walking away with? What is the event promise? That's the first question you want to be asking yourself. And then based on that, what is the experience you want them to have? Are you looking for a lot of in person networking? Are you looking for just some collaboration? Are you looking to, if you're an international audience, are you wanting to bring all of them into the space? What does that look like? And from there, that's what's going to help us really dial in whether you do virtual or you do in person. And then in terms of hybrid, hybrid is a beast all of its own. The reason I say that is it's really two events, because in order to do hybrid well, you have to have a team that's doing virtual and the virtual engagement and the virtual loving on your attendees. And you have to have a team that's really supporting the in person crowd as well. Because when you put somebody into a breakout session in the virtual space, you put them into a shares around the table in person. But in person, if you're going to give them something on the tables, you have to drop something as a link in virtual, right? So you have to think at it from multiple brains. And so, only for my clients that are really used to being in a virtual hybrid experience do I recommend that. Otherwise, I'm saying do one or the other. And if you really love both, do, let's say, an in person one first, and then 6 months later, do a virtual one.
Okay. Thanks for answering that question. That brings me more question actually.
As it should.
And I know that you actually have a formula, and you kind of talk about that. What type of events should I be doing? Is it based off of, obviously you have to set a goal. A lot of us sometimes is we're going to put on the event
Mhm,
and hopefully they will come. But
mhm.
as you know, it doesn't really work. You might or might not get the audience that you're looking for. So you will actually guide your client depending on what your goals are or how many people you're expecting to
Mhm.
choose the right event and the format that is right for them.
Yeah, I do. And there's actually like 17 different types of events that you can
Wow.
actually be doing right now, right? Did you even realize that 17? I'm sure there's probably more, but when I sat down and was like, oh no, here's another one. So I mean, if we were looking at the 17 different types, we're looking at a 90-minute workshop. We're looking at a summit. We're looking at retreats, masterminds, 1-day sales and enrollment events, 3-day sales and enrollment events, seminars, podcasts. This is an event. Don't know if you realized it. Meetups, Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives, Clubhouse rooms, conferences, challenges, hackathons, conventions, trade shows. Those are all different types of events. And it kind of goes back to the question of what is the intention? What is the event promise? What are we looking to do? And what's the engagement? Is what's going to help you determine the type of event that you should be doing. Now, if we take it a step further, based on the phase of business that you're in, based on the level of business that you're in, there's actually 5 different phases of event leverage. So if you're in phase 1, your primary goal in phase 1 is to get clients and get them crazy awesome results. You should not be doing events in phase 1. Reason being, in phase 1, you are figuring it out. You're starting out. You're brand new. Your goal is to go ahead and get 8 to 10 paying clients and getting them crazy awesome results. It gives you proof of concept. It gives you testimonials. It gives you leverage to then go into phase 2. So the first phase, phase 1, is validate. The second phase is visibility. And this is where you can start bringing in certain types of events. Okay. Your goal is to increase your visibility. So this is where we're going to use the free platforms. We're going to use your Facebook Lives. We're going to do your Clubhouse rooms. We're going to do Instagrams. This is also where you're going to go ahead and start being guests on other people's stages. And what I mean by that is you're going to be a guest on somebody's webinar. You're going to be a guest on somebody's podcast. You're going to be a guest on somebody's summit, right? So somebody else is filling the room and you are speaking to the same audience and providing value. This is also an opportunity to start taking a look at being a speaker sponsor, okay? This is where, somebody else, again, is filling the room and you are paying to play, where you can end up really connecting with the audience and kind of help out the event host who brought everybody to the table. So that's kind of phase 2, where you're gaining more visibility. You're growing your email list, you're growing your community, and you're getting out there on multiple platforms. And the reason we say that is because at this point in phase 2, your goal really is to start bringing in new eyeballs, making offers, growing your business, putting them into your programs and your packages, and bringing in income where it's about $5,000 consistently in your business. Okay. Then you can start to move into phase 3. And phase 3 is our grow phase. So in the grow phase, you're just going to do more of what you did in phase 2, but you're also going to start looking at hosting your own stages, okay? Creating your own events. This is where you can start hosting masterclasses, doing your own webinars, doing your own summits, getting larger speaker sponsorships, and reaching more of the masses, okay? We're rinsing and repeating. We're building upon what you've already learned and experienced. We know more about your audience and what their pain points are and how you can support them in moving forward. And then once you've reached pretty much like a $10,000 consistence in your business, then you want to go ahead and move to phase 4. So in phase 4, this is where you start to scale. And in scale, you are going to take a look at your sales conversations going from one-on-one to one-to-many. Okay. So this is where you're going to start also building in systems and structures into your business. The best events in phase 4 are going to be your one-day sales and enrollment events. They're going to be taking a look at retreats and taking a look at workshops. Okay. And this is also where you have the income to actually have team members supporting you as well. You can bring on event teams to support you in your one-day events because you are consistently bringing in the income and you have that system where your goal is to start then making $20K a month. And when you start making $20K a month, then you move into phase 5, and that's your leverage phase. And this is where you must, absolutely must be staying in your zone of genius in order to continue to grow your client base. So in order to do this, you really have to start delegating more to your team. You're starting to establish more systems. You're leveraging your time. And then as far as events, this is where you're really starting to move into the 3-day sales and enrollment events. Really create community, really create raving fans, doing those one-to-many experiences and continuing to offer your high-ticket programs from the stage. So that's kind of how we move people through the different phases of event leverage.
Thank you for the detailed explanation, and I like the different steps. I think I'm around at stage 2 now,
Okay.
so hopefully, I can go. And I do see the value, right? So someone has an event put together already. If you are can provide insights or you have the expertise to be a speaker, it does help you a lot to have people see you as an expert because you're speaking at this particular industry events. And you're right, and that's how you can really build the audience. Maybe some of them are really connected with you, and then once you build up your list, then you can start doing your own thing.
Yeah. Well, and it's like you're honing your craft as well, right? Being on stage and engaging with the audience, it takes some skill set. It takes some trial and error. When you're in person, you do things a little bit different than when you're in virtual in order to gauge with the audience, right? And so that's why we start with the free platforms and we get you used to it. And then we move you into bigger platforms and bigger platforms. So then you're just layering on top all of your experiences.
Yeah, it humbles me every single day, trying to even doing the show. I thought that I could talk in front of a camera, but then I recently tried to record myself, maybe speaking for 3 minutes.
Mhm.
I won't even tell you how many takes I've tried, to get that 3 minutes out. So it's a different experience.
Mhm.
My question would be, a lot of people, sometimes my client who are trying to put together a event will think we are a brand, we wanted to put together an event. So how would you actually guide them? Because sometimes they would think that they are level 5,
Mhm.
but really they just get started. How do you maintain, their goal, right, and objectives of what they're trying to do versus what the reality is like with the brand recognition or with the level of the content, at the meantime?
Yes, absolutely. And that's kind of how the phases came about, was me having one-on-one conversations with people going, "Oh, you know what? You shouldn't be doing an event right now, but that's okay. And you don't have to stay in a phase for like a year. You can move through the phases within a year." Right? So I have clients that will be like, "I just started out." And then by the end of the year, they're in phase 5 and they're making over $20,000, $30,000 every single month consistently, right? So don't look at it as like, "Oh, I have to stay in this phase for a certain amount of time." You can move through them fast. You just have to take consistent action in order to do it. So it's like, how quickly can you go ahead and get on other people's stages? How many different podcasts can you book? How many different webinars and summits can you be on other people's stages? To then go, okay, my next step is to create my own summit or create my own one-day event. So you can move through it really, really fast. But when I'm connecting with somebody, I'm like, okay, what does it look like? Do you have crazy awesome results for your clients? Do you have 8 to 10 testimonials? Great. Check mark phase 1. What does your visibility look like? Are you out there connecting with the audience on a different level? Are you bringing them in? Are you offering them free gifts? Are you giving them more and more value? Okay, great. Phase 2. Phase 3, are you doing your own stages? Are you doing a masterclass? It's a free masterclass. And when you start to move into that for phase 3, you start looking at, how do I start filling the room, right? How do I get the eyeballs and the people that I've been connecting with in Facebook Lives into actually joining me for 90 minutes on a free masterclass? And so we end up supporting our clients with creating ticket maps, creating what is the event promise, and just kind of a step-by-step process of checking off all the boxes in order to move them from the different phases, so that when they're doing phase 2 and they're doing the Facebook Lives, they're getting used to asking people to take action. And when they're asking them to take action, it could be as simple as, type in chat for me right now. If this is resonating for you, type yes, yes, right? That's an action. We're leading them to take action of some sort. It's not necessarily come and buy my stuff. It's like, just say yes, yes in the chat right now, right? So that's just small little call to actions. And you do that more and more and more, you start to build your muscle, so that when you do your own masterclass and you do make an offer, then it becomes a little easier to you.
I think one of the challenges are, and I think it's something that we kind of have to deal with it, because, like you said, there are 17 platforms. If I really drill down more, we could probably name a few more out there. So when you're providing in the beginning free content, you're giving out your advice, you're trying to make the case that I am a good professional that knows what I'm talking about. So people like free stuff, right? They like to attend a free webinar. They like to attend a free summit. At a certain point, there are values for some pay summit, right? As an attendees of paid summits before, I know that these are the people who are more serious about what they want to do. If I'm paying certain amount of money, sometimes, expensive, right? Event. So I'm really focused on getting more event out. So how does a speaker becomes from the free phase, then, I know audience, I'm going to the next phase. I may ask of you those of you who are more serious, to actually pay for what I'm about to tell you. So how do you think that's normally difficult, or are there certain success story that you can share with the audience?
In terms of moving from free into paid offers from the stage? Yeah, I think it's a muscle. You're already making paid offers because you're growing your business, right? You're doing it one-on-one. In phase 1, you're doing it one-on-one. That's the only way to move out of phase 1, is when you have 8 to 10 paying customers, right? So you already are starting to learn how to make offers. When you start to learn how to make offers from the stage, there is a learning curve to it. You've got to practice it. That's why we start you with the free platforms to then move into the paid platforms. But I like what you were saying before, where, if they're not paying, if they don't pay, sometimes they don't pay attention, right? And so what happens is, as you get closer and closer to you as the expert, they are spending more one-on-one time with you, the value increases. So you will probably never totally get away from not ever doing a free event or a free webinar or a masterclass, right? Because that's part of a lead gen opportunity into your business. But what I have seen is what one of my clients did. She did a summit. It was a 5-day summit. She ended up having, it was 3 hours each day. And she ended up asking her friends, other experts in the space, to come and join her on the summit, right? So it wasn't just her the whole time. And so in that, they all had a free gift themselves to give away. But it wasn't just a normal kind of free gift. It was It was a paid program that they offered complimentary. Okay. So what happened was during the summit, my client ended up saying, look, if you end up joining us for our 3-day event that's coming up, we will go ahead and give you all of these bonuses from our guests. And it ended up being like $20,000 worth of value that all of her friends actually sold these programs for, right? And they had gifted it to her to give on the summit. So they ended up going, okay, I'm going to go ahead and pay for this 3-day event. It is, I think it was like $497 to attend the event. And they ended up getting $20,000 worth of bonuses when they joined. Is that a win-win or what?
Yeah, you got a lot more new friends also.
Right, exactly. And then on the back end, it was also a win for all of her friends that ended up gifting those programs because the people that opted in for them, they also added them to their email list. So it was a win-win-win-win-win all the way across.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. That could be applied to any industry, any platform. So there are a lot of partners that you could, find out there. There are a lot of different creative strategies, I would say, that, you if you look and talk to enough people, you could probably come up with your own that works with your audience.
Absolutely. And you want to look for people that like are sidelined to you, right? So who comes in and supports your audience right before you and who supports your audience right after you. So for instance, if I was going to do an event or sideline to you, right? So if I was doing an event, I could look at AV companies because we have the same niche of people, but we don't compete
Mhm.
necessarily, right? So then it would be supportive for both of us to support the same audience. And they could be one of my speaker sponsors, they could be one of my joint venture partners, anything along those lines.
Okay, I like that. So I
Even
wanted to, yeah,
Swap
ask
would
you.
be a partner too, right? It would be a sideline partner for me.
Yeah, kind of like what I do is, we can serve mutual clients, but then we don't compete with each other.
Yeah.
So, like your example, like digital marketing, like event planners. So we do help the same goal for the
Mhm.
client, but then we don't necessarily do the same thing together. And then it is always my thought that if you could partner with more people, then your reach is much larger than if you
Yeah.
do it, if you go in by yourself.
Yep. I totally agree. And it's all about locking arms with each other, right? It's like, all right, let's go. Let's go and create the wave of change together. So it's like if I threw something in and the little ripple effect is okay, great. But if like all of us locked arms and we all jumped in together, it's like a wave goes out there and we're able to reach more people, serve more people, and create a difference.
Yeah, it could be as simple as if it is a very serious business event, for example. You could, depending on what city you're in, you could invite maybe a comedian, right, within that city to join force. So, they can have some free time, little rest, 15, 20 minutes, and then you can connect with local restaurants who are really, has a fascinating story behind that. So all of you can work together for the same goal, and then the reach, and then, people who are in the local area might know other connector or other power partner that might be able to help with your event.
Exactly. You hit it spot on.
So I think I want to still dig deeper, right? So for
All right,
event,
let's
when
go.
we build it, will they come? Is
Uh,
always the question. Is it like a formula? I know we talk about a lot of different strategy, how we can partner, how we can ask, are there things that you have seen from your success story that that if you do a certain things or if you plan for certain things, then you could be in a better success than if you just go in and build the event.
Yeah, so I like to do things based on the numbers, right? I don't want to just go, yeah, let's go ahead and put together an event for 50 people and I'll send a couple emails out and I'll do a couple Facebook lives and we'll get 50 people, right? Like they'll show up, right? No. Not quite. I like to be a little bit more strategic with it, especially when we start to get into the space where we have a couple hundred people as our goal, or we have a couple thousand people as our goal to show up to the event. So what I like to do is create what we call a ticket map. And so for our audience today, if you go and grab a piece of paper, I want you to go ahead and create a box. And in the box, you're going to create a couple of different columns. So you're going to have like 5 different columns. In the first column, the header is going to be the opportunity or the ticket source. Okay. This is all the ways that we are going to be reaching out to the audience, all the different ticket source opportunities. The second column is going to be the anticipated number of prospects or potential people in the room. The third column is going to be the anticipated conversion, and that's going to be a percentage. The fourth column is going to give us the projected ticket sales. And then the fifth column is going to be the total projected tickets. So if we were to look at our example of our goal is to have 50 people show up to our event. In column 1, what I would like have all my clients do is we're going to list out all the different ways that you're going to be reaching out and engaging your audience. So let's say you're going to send an email from your list to a webinar that you're going to be hosting. And you're going to anticipate 30 people from your email list are going to show up to that webinar. And we know that webinars tend to have, let's just say, 10% conversion. That's going to give us 3 tickets. And so our total tickets are 3. So then we go second line. We're going to actually do a webinar 3 times. Okay. So in the second line, again, we're going to have 30. We'll have a 10% conversion, 3 more tickets, but now we have 6 tickets total. Okay. And then let's say we do a sponsorship. Again, 30 people in the room that end up talking to us during that sponsorship, 10% conversion, another 3 tickets. We're going to have some referrals. Referrals, I'm just expecting 4 people referrals. So that's just 4 tickets across the board. I've got some past people that have purchased other products from us. So, you know, they spent $47, $197. I'm going to offer them to come to my event. I'm just going to say I've got 60 people that have purchased from me in the past and one of those smaller tickets. Because they've purchased from me in the past, that's going to be a higher conversion. So I'm going to say that's about a 30% conversion. So I've got 18 more tickets. And then I'm going to do some speaking engagements. So you see all the different ways that we're starting to fill up our room. We're going to do joint venture partner calls. We're going to talk to our past clients. We're going to do some strategic networking. We're going to do a bring a friend campaign. All the different ways to fill the room. And so what you do on the very last column is you add up all the numbers. And what I want to do is I don't want to be like, okay, this is how I get to 50. I actually want to oversell. And the reason being is I'm accounting for no-show. Okay. So if I want 50 people in the room for my event, that means I need to sell 60 or 70 tickets to account for the no-show to actually have 50 people show up. And so that's one of the first things we end up doing with our clients is going, what is the goal? And how are we going to have them show up? What are all the different ways we're going to engage with the audience to get them to our event?
So how long is the planning process? And thank you for breaking it down so detailed, because I think if you follow those steps, I'm pretty sure that you'll go to hit the number that you're looking for. It's because a lot of times you just do one platform, one type of audience. For example, you mentioned more than 5, I think 10 at least. So you could at least, count it for 10%, 10%, 10%, and then you have to do at least more than 10. So you fill up that 100%.
Well,
how much planning do you think one needs to do before they even want to think about putting together an event?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the type of event, right? So for a lot of my clients, we support them with 3-day sales and enrollment events. And that at that level, we're not necessarily looking for just 50 people in the room. We're looking for a couple hundred people in the room. So we need a little bit more leeway time to sell into the event and market it, right? So from a planning perspective, we take about 3 months. If I can have more than 3 months, fantastic. But if I have 3 months, we can get a lot done because not only are we helping you take a look at the ticket map, we're helping you look at your vision. We're looking at your run a show or your agenda to make sure that it actually flows properly. What are you actually teaching as content? It's like an arc. It's kind of like a movie, essentially, right? You craft it in a way that you take people on a journey and an experience. And in that journey and experience, you are also kind of layering on top of it all of your multimedia. You're putting in videos and you're putting music and you're putting breakout sessions and experiences. You're adding swag. Can I tell you real quick? I had a client, this was so cool. She loves swag. Okay. And she created an experience around it to the point where she had this huge box. Okay. In the box, it had the date all over it. And then it says like, don't open until, the day of the event. And so of course you're going to have people like open it. And so when they open it, there's a page right on top that says, you can do hard things. I told you don't open it. Wait until the event. Right? And then during the event, we created this arc where it was like, okay, everybody go find box number 1. And okay, everybody open box number 1 together. And so it just created this community and this experience, and it was tied into what we were doing to the point where this particular audience, it was a lot of stay-at-home moms that were starting up their businesses. And so we wanted to take care of the dinner for them, but we couldn't figure out quite the way to like send everybody a gift card for buying dinner. So instead, as a part of the swag, we ended up having plates, like plastic plates that were branded with the company logo. And it's like, here, we took care of the dishes for you for dinner tonight. Right?
That's smart.
It's so smart. So you can get super creative. And in that process, we're creating the experience where, I kid you not, we probably had 95% of people stayed with us over the entire event. It was a multi-day event. So these are the things that we help craft with our clients in figuring out what is the experience. And then we get nitty gritty with it, right? Down to the minute of like, 2 minutes in, we're playing this video, and then 5 minutes in, we're playing this, and then we're moving to this slide, and so on and so forth. But even with all of that, and that's kind of why it takes us 3 months to really create this event. But even within that, we also account for, we know that events are a living, breathing entity. We know that based on who shows up, there's a chance that we're going to move and adjust something. So we have that flexibility built in for our event host to go, yeah, you know what? I think we need to adjust this. We need to tweak this. Instead of this piece over here, I really want to do this instead. And so that's where the grace and ease comes in of being fluid and flexible. But to answer your question, long story short, I like to have 3 months when we're doing like a 3-day event. If you're going to do a shorter event, if you're doing a 1-day event, we can, definitely do that within a month. But I like to have 3.
Yeah, I love all the engagement and all the fun that you put in, with your client. And you're right. If you go to the event, it's all content. It's good. It's why I'm going for it. But I also like to have fun. I like to get free stuff,
Who
Even
doesn't
I'm
like free stuff that you
I'm
can
in the industry, right? I still like to get free stuff. And whenever my kids know that I'm going to an event, you're going to get some stuff for me, right?
Mhm,
I'm kind
mhm.
of on a mission and on the lookout to get, souvenir for them.
Yeah, and I like the stuff that you like use on a consistent basis. Like I got one of these magic 8 balls as a gift, as a swag box gift. I was like, oh, I'm so using this magic 8 ball. Fun
Speaking of gifts, Shay, I know that you have brought some good gifts for us, and can I have you talk about those? And if listener wanted to get in touch with you to learn more about what you can help them for the event, what would be the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we've just touched like the tip of the iceberg. And I'm sure your audience just has a ton more questions when it comes to pinpointing what is the best event for them based on the growth and level of business that they're in. So, what I've done is I've actually created the 5 phases of events to scale and leverage, and it's a guide. It goes into a little bit more detail than I did today, reviewing the different types of events, what you should be hosting based on your level of business. So, the easiest thing to do is head on over to 5phases.info/promo guide and guy, excuse me. And that's spelling out the word 5phases.info/promo guy. So that way I know you come from this guy right here, and I can get you any extra goodies along the way.
If you're listening in on a podcast, I'll also include all the links down below so you can also take advantage from this offer from Shay.
Beautiful. This has been so fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for all the wonderful information. And then let's have more events. I see them coming back already.
They are. They're coming back in full force. Everybody's excited to either be back in person or continue to stay virtual and reach that larger audience internationally.
Thank you so much for being coming on today.
Thank you. Pleasure.